Okay, this is a video about shift lights. I had done one before on my 348 because I found the tachometer incredibly difficult to read. Although I've now changed my gauge faces, so now they're a lot easier to read, as you can see. So it's still a little bit of a problem because the edge of the steering wheel tends to cut off the upper reaches of the tachometer right when you're getting to the red line area. And if I'm driving like a maniac, you're not really looking at the instruments that carefully anyway, and having the shift light flash at a given RPM makes it a lot easier to know when to shift and not cause any problems. I had done a previous video which showed the incredibly complex wiring to install this thing, but this is a new video because I found out it's incredibly easy to install it now. So this is an updated video to show how stupidly easy this thing is to install. This is just a picture of what the unit actually looks like when you pull it out of the package. Since I'd already installed mine by the time I made the video, I thought I'd just pull this up. As you can see, it has a RPM reading across the center, and then you have the LEDs that flash at whatever RPM you've set it to flash at. Now when I show you later my installation, you definitely need the RPM reading to set your RPM that you want it to flash at, but once I set that, I really didn't want the distraction of the light showing from the RPM reading. So I pulled the lens out, put a piece of black electrical tape over that, so it just leaves the LEDs exposed, so when it flashes, that's when it's time to shift. With the adjustment buttons in the back, you can also adjust the actual brightness of the flash, so I have mine at the brightest possible. So this is the wiring diagram for the unit. And there's only 3 wires that go into it, so it's not too complicated. One is ground, which is these are fine. Second is the red wire, which goes to a fused 12 volt, which you can just find the fuse box by the passenger feet. And the tricky wire is the signal wire, which tells it what the RPMs are. Now previously I had shown how to install this with an additional tachometer unit that you had to wire into the coil packs, and it got kind of complicated and technical. Turns out that you can just wire straight to the tachometer on the 348, so you don't have to worry about buying the tachometer adapter or any of that stuff, or any of the wiring in the back. Now they show if you have a regular distributor car, the old-fashioned kind, you can hook it up to the coil, or they show hooking up to the tack output on electronic ignition, but I'll show you later how simple this thing is to hook up. Okay, here's the unit I use, the Autometer Level 1 Digital Pro Shift System. And when you wire it into the tachometer wire of the car, you do need to make some adjustments. One of the things that you can adjust is something called the pulse per revolution set or cylinder calibration, and explains how you go in there and set it. But normally for an 8-cylinder car you would set it on a 4 pulse, but for some reason when you hook it into the tachometer wire for the Ferrari 348, you need to set it on a number 2 pulse. So you need to have that calibration ability on your shift light, which this one does have. And if you set the pulse on 2, then everything else will work fine, and everything else just adjusts according to the instructions. So this is the plug that goes in the back of the tachometer. You can see the tachometer sitting there. I have the pod removed from the dashboard. And the light, or the wire that goes to the shift light that carries the signal, you can, if you look at the plug, there's like 5 wires going into it. The middle wire, which is brown, I believe, is the one that you actually take the signal off. So all you have to do is just stick an extra wire in the middle slot there, tape it up so it doesn't fall out, and you've got your signal. So it's the middle of the 5 little openings there. That's where your wire goes, and you got your signal. The other wires, one is ground that you can find anywhere behind the dashboard, and the other wire is just a power that you can get off of the fuses down by the passenger foot. Yeah, previously when I installed my shift light, I had put it down here in the little package hole in the console, but since I got rid of the climate control and put this new panel in, that was no longer an option. Although the shift light does have a tachometer feature which tells you exactly what your RPMs are, I really didn't care about that. All I want is the flash at what I've set it at is 6,500 RPM. So what I did was, there's the body of my shift light with its adjusting buttons, and it's mounted, tucked back in the dash, and what I did was get a piece of plexiglass. Believe it or not, it was the handle of a toilet bowl plunger at the hardware store. It had a nice plexiglass handle, so bought the plunger, threw away the rubber part, got the plexiglass handle, and bent it at a 90-degree angle. And believe it or not, it's behind the vent louvers here. So when this flashes, it's like a fiber optic. It'll come out and it'll flash here. So I'll put the instrument pod on. You won't see anything, except when you hit 6,500, I'll get the flash here. So pretty effective, and that's it. So we'll give it a shot here. Zip it up to 6,500 and see if she flashes.